Welcome to Abzu, the ocean planet. Down here, Nanotrason plans on milking all they can out of the blue orb, and that includes harnessing the volcanic activity latent underneath its surface. At Ocean Laboratory and Neon, volcanic activity flows underneath the surface, carrying a sizable amount of heat with it. It moves around, but by utilizing Stomper technology, it turns out smashing it in place works just fine. From there, harnessing the power is as easy as a vent capture unit and a wire string back home. A quick safety brief. Almost all the work you're going to be doing is underwater. While you're immune to pressure for some reason, oxygen is still a concern, and a sea suit and flippers is going to help you move around easier. Also note that for more advanced hotspot work, the hotspots can and will cause damage to the sea floor, causing earthquakes that damage your body, and it'll even open up holes in the trench. If you see one, don't walk into it, and if you plan to, use a sea ladder. And finally, for Neon specifically, you may also want to invest in magnetic boots, as if you have active turbines or you're trying to lay down wire, the current on the outside of the ship tends to be annoying. If you've managed to fall into the trench without a sea ladder, the best you can do is call for help on the radio, and if you didn't bring a shovel, pray to God. To start us off, let's go over the hotspots themselves. Underneath the seafloor, 30 or so hotspots, 21 by 21 tiles wide, move in a randomly determined straight line, carrying a large amount of energy in the form of heat. Hotspots move on their own at one tile intervals every minute or so. Each move causes an earthquake that can cause people to be stunned for a small moment, and slowly becomes more active over a round, or if it's disturbed enough. You'll need to hunt these down to start collecting power from them. But how? The first step is going outside. You can probably just go outside of engineering, and eventually you'll find one by planting down a dowsing rod a whole bunch until something happens. But note, you have a trench map, which displays the underground view of the station, as well as all the hotspots on the map, pinned and unpinned. If you're getting more than one, you're going to want this info, as it'll give you hints on tracking down the other spots rather than guessing. Oh, dowsing rods, right. These rods are white and inert by themselves, but change to have a color and reading when plopped near a hotspot. A dowsing rod will give two unique readings whenever planted. The temperature of the rock underneath it is shown by its colored tip. Blue is coldest, red is hottest. The other reading is how close the rod is to the center of the hotspot, represented by a number reading on its plant. The further away, the bigger the number. You'll notice out in the field that these numbers tend to not line up with traditional shapes. You'll notice big jumps in power or multiple numbers that would indicate you're at the center already. This is because of Doppler shift. For those who don't remember high school science, the Doppler shift is the effect a moving object emitting waves has on the waves that it's emitting. In the case of the hotspot, a moving hotspot pushes all of its heat to the front and leaves a cool trail, kind of like a comet. The merciful thing is, whenever you find the actual center of a hotspot, the dowsing rod is going to tell you directly. It'll give a small hum when you're a tile off, and a proper beep when you're at the true center. This reading is not affected by Doppler shift and is always accurate. One last thing to note about dowsing rods is they actually move with hotspots as they shift. So if you leave a dowsing rod on top of the hotspot center, it won't become inaccurate if the hotspot moves. Now, when you finally have the center of a hotspot found, it needs to be pinned into place, or putting anything down is going to be pointless. To do this, you have two options to stomp it in place, unless you're a bovine: a stomper unit and stomper boots. A stomper unit is a giant unit that stomps into the ground by clicking on it. A stomper unit normally stomps once and stops, but you have a right-click option to set it to constantly stop on activation, useful in certain contexts we'll get to later. The alternative is stomper boots, which are in your backpack at the start of your shift. These are clunky boots with the ability to make you do a badass flip and stomp into the ground, pinning hotspots the same as these stomping units. More convenient than the unit, but without some of its utility if you're up to shenanigans. Whatever your stomping choice is, you need to stomp within a tile of the hotspot. If you miss this hotspot center, you change the hotspot trajectory to move away from the stomp and move it a tile, so you'll have to check for the center again. Note that hotspots can be unpinned if a stomper activates within 11 tiles of them. so please be careful when having multiple hotspots near each other. Though technically not relevant for power generation, it is still relevant to know that pinning a hotspot causes it to calm down some. This is going to come up whenever people ask you to stop hotspots that are on station. So just be a little considerate, take a little time away, find it on station, and pin it down. Ask for access if you need it, and just keep in mind that sometimes the hotspot's going to be underneath a wall or somewhere that you can't stomp, so you may have to move it out of position with a stomp. Now that you have a hotspot pinned, you'll need to collect from it. Using a power shovel from engineering, dig a hole at the center of the hotspot. Don't worry, you can't fall in this hole. Run a synth wire rubber from right above the hole you dug to one of the station's power wires outside of the engineering. Rather than placing them all down by hand, you can activate an ability whilst holding a wire that lets you automatically place it on your path. After you do that, we need a proper collection unit. Vent capture units can be placed easily by using it on the dug hole. After a second, power should be generating in it. If necessary, you can use a wrench to deconstruct it and pick it back up. Check the SMES units to ensure that power is being collected, and voila! Hot power fresh from the ocean. 2 hotspots connected to the station will basically keep you perfect for the entirety of the shift, and thus marks all that you need to know about how to keep the station running. But if you want to get into stupid business, it's simultaneously harder and easier than you might think, depending on how good you are at spleef. Getting the hotspots to output at max isn't actually all that crazy. Really, the struggle is not letting the hotspots screw you over by their maxitude. Let's go over what we can do to get these SMES juiced like crazy. A very simple one that has a basic additive effect is multiple events on the same hotspot. While they do draw from each other, the overall value is higher. This effect has diminishing returns, however, so the wiki recommends a 3x3 grid over a hotspot's pinned center to capture the most you can of its highest heat. Remember to make sure these are all connected by the end of a wire, and remember that if you need more, these devices can be scanned with your PDA and built from MechLab's Ruck Kit. The next thing you can do is undermining. Simply put, if you clear out all the rocks in the trench level that are underneath a pinned hotspot, the heat will flow a lot better and thus increase the amount of power that you can generate from one hotspot. This can be done 2 ways, yourself or with the mining crew. You have thermite charges available that can blow a hole through the ground and let you get down with a sea ladder. Try not to go down without a sea ladder. Anywho, your power shovel is able to dig basic rocks simply enough. Use the space GPS to get what coordinates of the hotspot are and match it into the trench level. A hotspot is 21 by 21, so that's the space where removing the rock will help the most. Alternatively, you could easily as well get mining to help you, as they have the gear to both mine rocks, go figure, and also fight off any monsters in the trench. Give them the coordinates and they have the capability of just walking over there themselves. Now, of course, the titular hotspot stacking. By combining multiple hotspots on one area, you can multiply the output heftily. As mentioned before, stompers have an effect where they can change the trajectory of a hotspot and push it away. This can actually be used to your advantage to bring multiple hotspots to one location. When you find a hotspot, use a stomping unit on automatic to push it away in the direction you want to go. Be careful whenever other hotspots start getting near each other, as this is when you're going to start moving multiple hotspots with one stomp. Keep a few of the tricks mentioned before in mind. If you put a dowsing rod on the center, it will move with the hotspot. And you don't have to be directly on top of the center, as it's a 3x3 grid you can pin a hotspot. Now, if you've managed to stack more than 2 hotspots, you may notice that as you move them and as they rest together, it actually goes from annoying earthquakes to downright dangerous earthquakes. Holes in the seafloor are going to start opening up that risk you falling into them, and the brute damage caused by the earthquakes can actually start to get to lethal territory. Even worse, if enough hotspots collect and cause damage, it can actually leave you unable to capture the very hotspots you were moving. Do keep in mind that vent capture units built on dug holes actually lock in position and can't be broken by earthquakes. Even with that, try not to let hotspots leave on their own too long without getting them pinned in place and starting on the collection. If you do plan on going crazy, it's not a bad idea to keep a brute med kit or two around to mitigate the damage. You can build flooring or lattice on trench holes so that you're still able to walk over them. In fact, if you place a sea ladder down before, you can put a flooring underneath that as well and it still works. However, you still can't build capture units on built flooring, so you'll still need that set up. Yeah, that's about it. Go out there and don't die.